Guys. Welcome to this week's podcast episode. I'm really excited about today's guest, Renee Hastings. She's the CEO of Executive Help Now, and we're going to have a fantastic conversation. We're going to talk all about teams, systems, um, assistance, and building a strong virtual infrastructure support for your company and your business to allow you to grow. So she's got all tidbits, the wisdom, and I'm happy to welcome Renee to the show. Welcome.
Thank you, Dr. Liu. I appreciate that awesome introduction, and I'm super excited about getting started today.
Yeah. Tell people, your background, your story, how you got started, and we'll get into it.
All right, awesome. So again, like you said, my name is Renee Hastings. I currently reside in Atlanta, Georgia with my family, but I got started in this business probably in about 2015. I started the business, but as you know, as an entrepreneur, where you are right now isn't exactly where you started. So there was a lot that led up to me being in this particular time and space. So I'm the granddaughter of sharecroppers who moved from the South and relocated to the North, farming land. And so my grandfather settled us in Wisconsin. And so he settled us in an area that was all white. I won't even say predominantly white because we were the only Black family for miles. So if you can imagine, if you saw someone who was Black in that area, they were family because there was no one else in the whole area. So that being the case, everyone knew us and everyone knew our family. And my grandfather set a very high standard of excellence for our family because everything we did was a representation of the family. So it had to be excellent. So how we worked, whether it was in the field or at school or in our offices in corporate America, everything had to be done with excellence. So that's what I grew up believing, doing, knowing that everything that I did was a reflection of the family. And so I strove for excellence in everything. So in school, graduating early at 16 years old, and being very good in school and developing a love for helping other people. So there was a summer youth employment program in Madison, Wisconsin that exposed young people to work opportunities. And my first assignment was for the Madison Urban League to help them set up their library. And I was 12 and I helped them set up their very first library. And it was a really fun experience. And I got to put things in boxes and categories and alphabetize and all these things. And I was like, oh, this is so fun. I kind of like this. And then the next year, I was 13 years old and I was the assistant to a Norrell Temporary Services franchisee owner. And it was at this place where I was able to give the applicants their job applications, type in all of their information, file all of their paperwork and that sort of thing. And as I was hearing the clickety-clack sound of the keyboard, I was thinking, the more I clickety-clack on this keyboard, people's lives are changing. People are getting jobs. This job is making a difference. So I decided then at 13 that I was going to one day run an office or own my own business. Wow. And so that's how I got started. And from then I took, more business classes, marketing classes, and the jobs I had were, starting out as a receptionist and clerical assistant, administrative assistant, executive assistant, all to the C-suite. And I just loved the partnership aspect of the role and being able to be the right-hand person that somebody put their confidence in and know that their things were going to be handled. I love that responsibility. I love the variety of the work. And so I eventually in 2015 decided, let me see if I can get my own executives that I can support even while I was, still doing something, working a full-time job. Because my kids had gone. They were grown and graduated from school. And so I was an empty nester with all this time on my hands and not really anything to do with it. And I didn't want to lose the skills because, if you don't use it, you lose it, right? Yeah. So I was like, let me see what I can do. So I started out just doing a couple of things for, a couple of people. And it was great, learned a lot. But then in 2019, things kind of exploded. And I decided I can't do this all myself. I need to build a team of other virtual assistants that will help me to handle all of the clients that are coming. And so from then on, the team has just continued to grow and our client base has continued to grow. And it's been pretty much word of mouth referrals because our clients are so happy with the work that we're providing for them and how much time they have back in their lives that they tell their friends. They tell their other overwhelmed friends, you need to call Renee and her team. She will hook you up and be able to take care of all of that for you. So you can actually leave work at 5 o'clock, have dinner with your family and not miss your kids' game, because you're working late.
Yeah, which is interesting because you bring up so many nuances. I grew up all white suburbs, so it's kind of I was never part of it. I was kind of on the fringe, and as I was an outsider. People were welcoming, but you could still feel this. We're not the same kind of feeling. You provide virtual administrative and videocast production support to small business entrepreneurs, and kind of talk about how your firm is situated and how you can help businesses create those support structures so that they can focus on vision and strategy, growth, etc.
Yeah. Oh, well, thanks for that question. So one of the biggest ways that we help is by taking things off of the plates of the executives that they should not be doing. Things like checking their own email, scheduling their own meetings, trying to get on somebody else's calendar, booking their own travel, doing their own expense reports. These are things, if you are an executive, if you're a president, CEO, if you are an entrepreneur with a whole business to run, these are not things that you should be doing. These are things that you should be delegating to someone else to do so that you can be focused on the things that only you can do as the executive or owner of this business to help develop strategy for the future. If you are too bogged down and weighed down with these things that are repetitive, that some people may call minutia, that should be handed off to someone who loves doing those things and whose value, when you think about the time worth value, if you're being paid, $300 an hour to do something, someone who makes $300 an hour should not be doing expense reports. So you give that to someone where it makes more cost-effective sense. And then that frees you up to strategize, to just be clear about where you want to go, because you're not all clouded with these other things that are necessary, but don't necessarily have to be done by you.
Yeah. It reminds me of in my early days, because I was doing everything, like, booking my own travel and answering emails. And then I kind of realized, this 500 per hour rule. And it's like, if you're doing like, $20 per hour task, you can kind of make 480 per hour, take it from your 500 per hour and you're still fine, right? And you save an hour, and that hours, you can use for different things, which is interesting.
Right. Exactly. So just think about it. What would you do? So some people, I read somewhere that most people get about over 100 email a day. And sometimes it takes them, if you're going to go through every single email, that could take you, an hour, 2 hours to get through 100 emails and respond and figure out which one's junk and figure out which one really needs a response and that kind of thing. What would you do with that hour or two if you didn't have to do that?
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? So that gives you a whole nother, maybe take an extra lunch, go get a massage at lunch or something, whatever, to do some self-care. But your time, you get to pick and choose. When you are able to delegate, you can pick and choose how you spend your time. Yeah. And it's a great self-care thing.
Yeah. It's funny because it reminds me of another guest, and she was talking about how she was taking the public transportation, like a $1.50 for the bus, but it took her 2 hours. But then she could take an Uber for $20, and it took her 30 minutes. So you save an hour and a half, and then you're paying maybe like extra $20 to save, an hour and a half, that's hugely valuable. Hour and a half, you can work out, you can go to lunch, you do work extra, which is kind of this idea of this time, the value of time.
Right, exactly. Unless you're using that hour and a half on public transportation to check your email or do some strategizing for the business or something like that. So if you're doing something like that, that you're on public transportation, that's precious time as well. So time is so finite. You get one chance every moment to do something. And so you want to do something that's going to add value to your business. So that hour and a half could be spent, putting together a plan or a timeline of where you want to be or set some goals or things like that. Things that are in your pay grade of things to be thinking about.
Right. It reminds me every time I'm like in a cab or taxi or Uber or like, at the airport, always have headphones, listening to podcasts or audiobook, kind of feeding my mind and making sure I'm going in the right direction. So there's this interesting thing where I read where it's like ADE, and it's kind of like automate, delegate, or eliminate. Kind of talk about how that fits into your strategy.
Yes. So it's so critical to automate, delegate, or eliminate. Usually it's relating to processes, systems, or emails even. And so one of the strategies is for some people as they're going through their emails, don't go through them more than one time. So when you look at it, you decide, what am I going to do with this? Am I going to delegate this to somebody else, or am I going to deal with it now, or am I going to delete this? So that's kind of the way I've seen that. And so that kind of helps get through that if you're not ready at this time to bring on your own someone to handle your emails. But automation definitely helps, to streamline things, streamline processes, because once you're able to put a system in place and have triggers set up in place that if this particular thing happens, then you do, this thing, and then this thing automatically, and use computers and technology to definitely help you with your processes to be more efficient. So automation is definitely key. That's something that we have in place as well, even on our back end. As we are working with clients and determining what is it that they actually need. So that's part of our process, is finding out what is your current situation. We do an assessment of, what is your current situation? What is your ideal situation? Where do you want to be? And then we work through how we get there together. And some of that could include automation. Some of that could include delegating, whether it's expenses or travel or calendar management or whatever that looks like, or even social media management and engagement, taking that off your hands. So you're not having to create posts and things like that as the owner of a business, or even producing a podcast show. We do that as well.
Yeah, it's interesting because it brings me to my next question. What I'm seeing more and more frequently is, my personal example is, last year I had a whole team. I had an editor, social media manager, all these. And then now with ChatGPT, which came on the scene, now there's a lot of software that can do a lot of the video editing and can create the blogs, kind of the headlines, all of that. How is software playing into your company's strategy?
Software is the foundation of our strategy, especially since we are a virtual business. So we depend on technology and the best technology to be the most effective and efficient at what we do. So we are strong believers in all of the new things that are coming, whether it is AI, to help us become more efficient at what it is that we do, because it's there and it will spit out all these things. You put in some prompts and all that. And, it still has that robotic nature to it. So you need a human to actually humanize it. And that's where we can come in and still help, even though there is all of this other automation out there.
Yeah, it's so fascinating because I just got back speaking from a conference, and the whole topic this year was AI and how AI has basically allowed small businesses to scale both in quality and quantity, and it's just amazing because you see like people that are not using AI are having a hard time keeping up with the businesses that are incorporating software and AI, either by efficiency or cost, or even like scaling. Just basically, it's almost like having 100 people work for you for like pennies. It's literally that powerful. I know you had some thoughts.
Well, no, I was just going to say, yeah, it definitely is very powerful. And I heard someone say that AI is not going to take over your job, but if you don't learn AI, you will be out of a job. Or something to that effect. So basically, it is very important because it is a wave of the future. It's just become so ingrained and inculcated into every aspect of our lives, it seems like, whether, especially in social media. And if you have a digital presence, it definitely has impacted that in a major way. And whether it's social or even within companies, there's some companies that are really, grasping onto it and using it to help them and develop systems and processes. I heard that, there's these major corporations that are like figuring out still how they can use AI to help improve their systems. And these are like, airlines and, things like that.
Yeah.
So it's really, there's no getting away from it. It's here to stay, whether we like it or not. And I think the quicker that most business owners get on the bandwagon and use it in some way, that the better off they're going to be. And if they're afraid of it or intimidated by it, hire somebody who isn't, because the AI isn't for everybody. But there are some people who love it, like us.
Yeah. I love it just because it's your ability to scale and grow a business, just, very efficient. It's like kind of like the internet when it first came on. If you didn't know how to use a website, set up a website, and then it was social media. If you didn't know how to like use social media, and then, now it's like AIs, kind of all these are like tools to help you do things more productive, more efficiently and cheaper as well.
Absolutely. I'm not sure how old you are, but I go back to even before the times when there was mice, like a mouse, like just a keyboard mouse. I started working before we had these. And we had function, alt, shift, and letter key combinations to make things happen. So technology is just going to evolve. It's going to continue to evolve. And I love it because, like I said, it is the foundation of how we operate as a virtual business and support our clients.
Yeah. How can people follow you, reach out to you, check out your website? I know you got an email, you're on Instagram, LinkedIn.
I do. I am on Instagram. Our handle is Executive Help Now. And I'm not sure can I put that in the chat?
Yeah.
Right in the little thing at the bottom.
What we'll do is we'll have a link and we'll put it in the show notes for all the listeners.
Yeah, but it's all at executivehelpnow.org is the website, executivehelpnow.org. There's also, I have, links to Calendly if people want to schedule some time with me to talk about their current situation. And if you text VA now to 1-866-943-3591, then that will send you a really cute little guide to how to know when you're ready for a VA. Just some things for you to think about. And then, of course, opportunity to reach out to us so that we can support you.
Yeah. And for all the audience out there, I really enjoyed this talk, especially with the automation, software, AI. These things are really changing the landscape. Renee's resources, she's on all platforms. These will be in the links and show notes, and be sure to check out her website as well, and check out her offering. And with that, thanks so much for coming onto the podcast.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Lou. Have a fantastic day.